Cassie Jo Stoddart was born on December 21, 1989 in Idaho. She was a student at Pocatello High School and she was stabbed to death by her own friends. Brian Lee Draper and Tori Michael Adamczyk attended the same high school as Cassie and they were in the 11th grade. Brian spent most of his childhood in Utah and then moved to Pocatello, Idaho. There is where he met Tori. On the night of September 22, 2006, Cassie was house sitting for her aunt and uncle, Allison and Frank Contreras, on Whispering Cliffs Drive in northeast Bannock County. The Contreras family were out of town and had hired Cassie to come and take care of their 3 cats and 2 dogs for the weekend. Cassie's boyfriend Matt Beckham came around at 6 p.m. Later, Brian and Tori, who were both 16 years old at the time, came over to hang out as well. Cassie gave Brian and Tori the tour of the house, including the basement. The 4 of them then went into the living room to watch the film Kill Bill, but Brian and Tori left before the film ended, saying they wanted to watch a movie at their local movie theatre instead. Then, Cassie and Matt were the only ones at the house. Before the boys left, Brian had unlocked the basement door so that he and Tori could re-enter undetected. However, Cassie wasn't aware of any of this. After some time, Brian and Tori returned to the neighborhood, parked down the street, and put on some costumes consisting of dark clothing, gloves, and white painted masks. They quietly entered the house through the basement as planned, and Cassie and Matt were still watching television in the living room. They intentionally started making loud noises, but this didn't work, in an attempt to lure them both downstairs so they could scare them. So then they found the breaker circuit and turned off the power in the house, hoping that this time they would come downstairs to see what had happened with the power. But again, neither of the pair came downstairs. The boys then turned on some of the power. Cassie at this moment was becoming uneasy, especially with the temporary power outage, and Matt had noticed that one of the dogs kept staring down at the basement stairs, periodically barking or growling. Matt saw that Cassie was getting scared and called his mother to ask if he could stay at the house for the night to ease her mind, but she had said no, instead offering to let Cassie come and stay at their house and then she would take them back to Whispering Cliffs the next morning. However, Cassie felt it was her responsibility to stay at the house because she was hired to do and care for the animals, so she declined the offer. At approximately 10:30 p.m, Matt's mother came and picked him up, leaving Cassie alone in the house with the boys. Matt called Tori to see where they were and to possibly meet up with them later. Matt said he could barely hear him over the phone as he was whispering, and he assumed that's because they were at the movie theatres. Brian and Tori heard Matt leave and they turned off the power again and waited, hoping that this time Cassie would come downstairs to turn the power back on. But again, she didn't. Eventually, they decided they had to go upstairs. Brian was armed with a dagger-type weapon and Tori had a hunting knife. They had gotten the weapons from a pawn shop. Brian opened and slammed a closet door at the top of the stairs to try and scare Cassie, who was lying on the couch in the living room. The boys then brutally attacked her, stabbing her approximately 30 times, and 12 of those were potentially fatal. During the investigation of the murder, the police found that they had recorded their plan to murder Cassie in advance on videotape while they were at school.
We found our victim, and sad as it may be, she's our friend. But you know what? We all have to make sacrifices. Our first victim is going to be Cassie Stoddart. She's going to be alone in a big, dark house out in the middle of nowhere. How perfect can you get? I mean, like, holy shit, dude.
I'm horny just thinking about it.
Hell yeah. It was 9:50. We know there's lots of doors. There's lots of places to hide. I locked the back doors, so it's all locked. Now we just gotta wait. I just killed Cassie. We just left her house. This is not a fucking joke.
I'm shaking.
I stabbed her in the throat and I saw her lifeless body just disappear. Dude, I just killed Cassie. Oh, fuck. That felt like fucking real. I mean, it went by so fast.
Shut the fuck up. We gotta get our act straight.
Okay.
This video footage was shown at their trials. Brian and Tori were arrested on September 27, 2006 and charged with first-degree and conspiracy to commit first-degree murder. During the interrogations, they blamed each other. Brian claimed he was in the same room as Tori when Cassie was killed, but he denied stabbing her, then later admitted to stabbing her under alleged commands from Tori. He led the investigators to Black Rock Canyon, where they had disposed of the clothing, masks, and weapons they had used for the murder. At trial, prosecution revealed that Brian had said he was inspired by Eric Harris and Dylan Klebold, who committed the Columbine High School massacre. Later, Tory was to have said that he was inspired by the Scream horror film franchise. Brian was convicted on April 17, 2007, and Tory was convicted on June 8, 2007. On August 21, 2007, based on being convicted of first-degree murder, each received a mandatory sentence of life imprisonment without the possibility of parole and 30 years to life for being convicted of conspiracy to commit murder. They are both serving their time at the Idaho State Correctional Institution located in unincorporated Ada County, Idaho near Kuna. In November 2019, Tory's sentence was upheld after his appeal was denied by the Idaho Supreme Court. Now they both filed separate appeals at the Idaho Supreme Court in September 2010 for Tory and in April 2011 for Brian. Brian was seeking to have his conviction vacated or to be given a limited life sentence that would allow him for his release on parole, if approved, after 30 years. The first appeal for both was denied. The High Court vacated Brian's conviction on conspiracy to commit first-degree murder, saying that jurors were given erroneous instructions on that charge, but they affirmed his conviction for first-degree murder and life sentence without parole. In July 2015, Tory gained a hearing for post-conviction relief with the state's 6th District Magistrate Judge Mitchell Brown. He claimed that his testimony from character witnesses could have changed the outcome of the sentencing, but that his former attorney, against his parents' wishes, chose not to call upon these witnesses. Tory said his attorney believed that the prosecution would have submitted even more damaging evidence. In March 2016, Judge Brown denied his request for post-conviction relief. Tory appealed the decision to the Idaho Supreme Court, which on December 22, 2017 was rejected and upheld the district court decision. Following this decision, Tory filed for a federal writ of habeas corpus in January 2018, in which he argued that the court denied his first appeal based on a theory that was not prepared to the jury. He also argued that he should be entitled to a new sentencing hearing in light of the Miller and Montgomery decisions. This was denied by a federal judge magistrate. Tory is currently appealing the federal judge's decision to the 9th Circuit Court of Appeals, with oral arguments taking place on February 7, 2022. On March 24, 2022, they upheld the sentence in an unpublished decision. In 2010, Cassie's family filed a civil lawsuit against the Idaho School District, claiming that school authorities were negligent and should have known that Brian and Tory posed a threat to others. Both the civil court and the Idaho Supreme Court dismissed the case, saying that the actions of the killers were not foreseeable. And that's it for today's case. Let me know down in the comments below what you thought, and I'll see you for the next one.